Let's do it. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this special holiday Help Desk edition of the Help Desk. This is a show where I answer your questions, where we discuss home recording, mobile recording, the gear, the mindset, the software, whatever you got on your mind, that's what we're going to chat about. And one of the reasons we're doing this is we had a slightly disastrous home studio Q&A yesterday, which was a great learning experience, which I'll talk about later. But if you have questions, there's a couple of ways that you can get involved here. There is a form. I'm going to just use the Q&A form that is over at the link, which you can see right here. I'll pop it here on the screen for you. There you go. If you've got a question, you can use the form, or you can drop a super chat if you want to support the channel and make a donation and ask a question, or just say g'day, or throw some carrots in the chat, or some thumbs up, or some horns. Then that is fine too. But thank you, everyone, for all your support in 2020, and let's kick into our first Help Desk show of 2021. So hello to Mark, to Rob, to Jade, to Dwight. If you are here live, say g'day, and we'll crack on and get into it. So what I'm going to do, we'll jump over to the form, and we'll go through each of the questions that we've got through here that I wasn't able to answer yesterday. We'll start with those. And then if you've got live questions as we go along here and you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, just throw your questions out there. Let's jump in and answer this one. I'll do the little copy and paste thing across here into the banners so that folks can actually see what's going on here. Hey, so let's bring this one in here. And we've got a question here from Asa. Asa says, I just got an iPad a few days ago. Are there any free apps I should check out other than the free plugins on the Studio Live Today website? Good question. Free apps to check out for your iPad. There are, and look, as you mentioned there, I do have the website. So if you go to studiolivetoday.com/freeau, you're going to be greeted with a page there that's got a bunch of links. Let's bring it up here on the screen and I'll show you what I mean. There you go. We've got all the free plugins that we have here. So these are plugins, AUV3 plugins that you can use within GarageBand. Let's just embiggen that. Over here, embiggen. So you can use these within GarageBand or any other host, any other AU host, so Auria Pro or Cubasis, and there's a bunch of different ones there. As far as free apps that you can use on your iPad, the couple that I really recommend that are free that I use all the time, one's called Documents by Riadel, and I know that Jade Starr has mentioned this on her show recently. It's had a recent update, and it is a great document manager. So it lets you do all the things. I'm realizing I haven't run it in a while. It's now got a video player. You can extract audio from video files. You can do a bunch of cool things. So Documents by Riadel is one, but I'll throw it out there to folks here. I'm trying to share my screen here. I'll throw it out to folks here. If you've got an idea, if you've got something that you use regularly on your iPad or your iPhone that is a free app, then let us know. Here we go. This is it. This is Documents by Riadel, and you can see here it's got a whole bunch of options in here that you can use. You can access your files, you can access your Dropbox and your Google Drive. It's got a bunch of cool options in here. So maybe that's something that we'll play around with. Oh, it's got VPN now. That's a bit weird. We'll have to find out what a little bit more about that as we explore. But yeah, if you've got ideas, if you've got other free apps that you are using on iPad or iPhone that you would recommend, then throw them here in the chat, or you can drop them in the comments after the show. What are some other ones here? I've talked about things like the Crunk V2, which is a very cool app. iMovie, obviously, and GarageBand. Most folks are aware of that. That works well. There's a cool app called File Converter, if you're looking to convert files between different things. But yeah, to be honest, a lot of the stuff I use is not free, but it's pretty cheap. Things like Audio Share is a great app for your audio needs. I think most of them are covered over at the free AU website, studiolivetoday.com/free AU. You can check those out. But thank you for your question, Asa, and thanks for kicking us off here on the Help Desk. Let me come back to here and make sure that we have a page I keep talking about this. I keep raging on the fact that I can never find my tabs here in GarageBand, here on my new Mac, because I've been using the Mac M1. We'll talk about that later in the show, but I've been using my Mac M1, and I'll bring up tabs and I'll put them somewhere, and then I'll go back to try and find them, and I can't for the life of me bring them back up. I don't quite know what I'm doing when it comes to this, but maybe I need to, there you go, open. Oh, there you go. It brought it back up. We're back in business. There you go. We're all good in the hood. Let's jump into our next question, shall we? From the Q&A form. Again, there is a form linked here. If you do have questions, you can throw them there. And this question comes from our friend John. Now, this is a bit of a long one, so it's not going to fit here in the screen, but I'll take you through it here. John says, I recently received a new USB microphone for Christmas and I began using it a few days ago. However, I noticed the microphone's recording have a decently audible static hissing sound playing throughout. Do you know ways to improve the microphone hiss on a computer door? Or do you think the microphone is possibly defective and should I get a new one? If yes, do you recommend any microphone that doesn't create too much hiss? Thanks and keep rocking. That's from our friend John. And it's a good question and very good questions. I talked about this a bit on this morning's GarageBand weekly show. When it comes to microphones and background noise and hiss, you're always going to get them. You're always going to get hiss and noise. Just have a quick drink. And it's usually to do with the background noise that you have in your environment. It's to do with the amount of input gain that you've actually got on your signal. And then it's about the actual software that you're recording into. Most of the things you're going to come across are to do with your environment. So get away from anything noisy is tip number one. Tip number two is with your input gain, turn that down. So if you've got a USB microphone, most USB mics have their own input gain on the actual microphone. So if we go to, where should we go? We'll have a look at the Blue Yeti is probably the most used microphone when it comes to USB microphones. So this will be a good example one to use. And the Blue Yeti is actually pretty good if you're looking for something that's going to have good quality audio and not a bunch of background noise and hiss in there. But if we take a look over here at the Blue Yeti, boom, there it is. What you'll notice here is that you've got your headphone volume there on the front, but you've also got on the back, where is it? It's not showing us very good. There you go. This knob here is gain. So when you're talking about microphones, if you've got a microphone that doesn't have a gain adjustment, you're going to struggle because it means that you can't turn it down enough to eliminate some of that background noise. And what's called the noise floor is when you actually hit that. So I've got a trim control here on my mixer. If I turn this up, take a listen to this. So there you can hear my input gain is up way too loud. Yeah. So my input gain down here is just below what we call the noise floor. And if you use that gain knob that I'm showing you there on your USB mic or on your audio interface or on your mixer, that is the most important thing. That's what I see folks get wrong the most. They can't hear themselves when they're singing. So guess what they do? They turn up their gain. But what comes with the gain is all of that background noise. And it's not even very quiet in here. I mean, not even very loud in here. It's pretty quiet. But you can hear, right? You can hear the fan noise. You can start hearing traffic noise. You'll hear all sorts of things. So that is the key thing here when it comes to a USB mic or any other microphone, any other audio interface, is to make sure that you get the balance right. I think I've turned it down too much now. There we go. Around about there. So be careful with that. And as Mark's saying here, yeah, that's my version of ASMR. I promise I will not do that ever again. That's my tips on that. If all else fails, then as I've mentioned a bunch of times, there's a plugin for iOS, and I believe you can get it on desktop too. Bruce Free's on desktop, isn't it? I'm pretty sure, because if you're using it on a Mac or a Pre-C, Bruce Free from Clev Grand. Let's take a look at it. Yes, here it is. It is my favorite noise reduction plugin from our friends at Clev Grand. So yeah, there you go. I mean, it's $60 if you're buying it on Mac or Windows, and it's only $15 if you're buying it for your iPhone or iPad. So it is available, but it's a little bit more expensive. So you know what? Once you're spending $60, depending on the microphone you're using, if you're using a cheaper USB microphone, doesn't have good gain control, getting a lot of noise, you might be better off investing in something like the Samson Meteor, or something like a Blue Yeti, or the AKG Lyra is a decent mic that I've been using lately. So yeah, there's a bunch of those. And there you go. There is the Bruce free link that Jade has popped there in the chat. Let's, speaking of the chat, we've got a few more folks who've joined us live, so we'll say g'day to them before we move along. We've got Benedict Stewart, hello to you. Brad Example, how do you go? I'm happy to catch one of these from the beginnings. Happy to have you here, Brad. Thank you for being here. Who've got Baskar Tech. There you go. I just got an iPad Air 4 for Christmas 10 days ago. The iPad Air 4... is really good. That's the 4th generation of the iPad Air. If we'll come over to my website, it's actually, now this is where I make sure that I've actually updated everything, right? We're about to find out. Yeah, it looks good. So if you are in the market for an iPad, my iPad buyer's guide is over here. So I've got videos to my iPad Pro 2020, my current iPad, my real world review, a video about the best iPad for music production, and then all of the 2020 models compared, because there's a lot. A lot's come out here in 2020. You can see I last updated this back in September when the latest crop of iPads came out, the iPad Air 4th Gen and the new iPad 2020. So in terms of the best all-rounders, I do recommend the 8th Gen iPad. That's one my daughter actually just bought. She saved up all of her birthday and Christmas money and pocket money, and she's bought herself the iPad 8th Gen. The 2nd Gen Pro, the Mini 2019, the iPad Air 4th Gen, I put it right up here in the performance models. So the 2018 3rd Gen iPad Pro, the new 2020 4th Gen iPad Pro, and if you're not going to go for them, the 4th Gen iPad Air is actually a really good option. USB-C, so you've already got that connectivity just like the Pro, and the chip that you have in there, it really flies along. So yeah, do consider that if you're in the market for a new iPad. But yeah, let us know how you go and if you're enjoying your new iPad. All right. And documents by Readdle, yes, that we talked about before. Jade has linked it there. Jade's told us that the VPN is cool for the inbuilt browser in Documents. There you go. So you can use Documents. You can actually use the built-in browser, and our friend here, Baskartek, uses that as well. Hello, good to have you here. Autism rocks. Can't stay, but wanted to drop in and say Happy New Year. Jazz hands to you and to everyone. Tom Rochelle loves the Documents, find it very useful. Yeah, I do too. And Audio Share, if you've got $5 to spend on any audio apps, get Audio Share. It does so much stuff. I've done a video on it before, and maybe we can talk about it in more detail later if anyone has questions. Hello to Deep Gravity. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Spot 11's been away for a bit. What's good? What is good? What's happening? How's your 2021 treating you so far? For me, it's been a little bit interesting. I had a few technology breakdowns yesterday, as you may have seen on the show, on the home studio Q&A show. But yeah, nothing that we couldn't overcome. It was actually a bit of fun. If you missed the show, we had an internet outage. And here's the thing, after the fact, what I did is I grabbed my phone and I went onto Safari and I put StreamYard on there and I started streaming from my phone. It wasn't until afterwards that I stopped and thought and went, I could have just tethered my Mac to my Wi-Fi on my phone and kept doing it exactly as I am here. So there you go. There's a lesson learned for next time, is that the next time we have a problem like that, and there will be a next time, then that's what I'm going to do. We're going to be able to go ahead and do that. So, yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of that at the time, but I didn't, so what are you going to do? Hello to Joey Helpish checking on in. I did catch some of your show, Joey. I did have some work to catch up on, but I had you in the background singing to me and distracting me from my work, which is a good, positive distraction, I call it. Righty, BJ Jones, hello to you. Hope you're doing well. And once again, if anyone has any questions, please throw them here in the chat or jump on over to the form that is linked there, because we do have a form that you can throw your questions into, and that will ensure that they get answered. And you can indeed check out all of my gear recommendations at that place, studiolivetoday.com/gear. That is the place. Greg, I think I saw you jump on in here. Bubba's in here. Hello to you. Pain or get. Can you tell us how to pronounce your name? I'm struggling with that. I apologize. Pain or get. Greg Kenhead, it's probably one of those things that's like, huge ass where I'm just like, eventually I'll work out how you pronounce it, and it's actually like some funny, a bit like doctor's orders that took me how long to work out that was doctor's orders? Yeah, no, I'm a simple man. Greg says, I won't allow myself to buy a new iPad until I start making dollars on my tunes. And that's probably a good thing. Yeah, make it the reward. That's my reward. Getting a new iPad when you start making the sweet do re mi. And I mean, yeah, we'll talk about music distribution a bit later, but it's a tough ride. Like in terms of how much money you make from actually releasing and distributing songs, unless you're selling and streaming a whole lot, it's challenging. And that's where I think diversifying is really good. And I've definitely doing it these days. I do work mixing and mastering. I do videos like this. I do my own music. I've got sponsors now for things like the Your Music Live show. I think that, yeah, the days of being a musician where I've said this a bunch of times, where you record an album, you put it out there, a whole bunch of people buy it, you get all the money, and then you spend 4 years and then you put out another album and that's all you need to do. I mean, it's never really worked. If you know the music industry, you know that's never really been it. But I think it's even less so now. And I think across the board, even if you have a 9 to 5 job and you're like, I've just got a 9 to 5 job, I get my usual paycheck and I do my thing. It benefits you to start doing something on the side. Start looking at ways, because you just never know. Like, there is no such thing as permanent jobs anymore. So always be looking out for what you're going to do next. That would be my advice anyway. Again, in my opinion, in my experience. Fallen saying 2021 is decent so far. I mean, what are we? We're only 4 days in here. It's only 3 days in if you're in the US and Canada. Spot 11 saying, great so far, been learning a lot. Well, that's awesome. It is a lifelong learning journey that we're all on here. And as soon as you stop learning, I think you've stopped learning. Like you need to learn new things to actually implement new strategies and techniques. So yeah. Basscar, is it Basscar? Basscar Tech? I use iMovie sometimes. Yeah, I must admit, I use LumaFusion these days for the majority of my video editing. So if you are not familiar with LumaFusion, it's a very, very cool app. I would check it out. Oh, see, I'm gonna minimize my screen here, and then I'm not gonna remember how to bring it back. Need to get better with my Mac skills. But excuse me. But yeah, so LumaFusion is my video editor of choice. It's just had a big update, and yeah, it is really, really nice. So you've got a whole bunch of controls in here. You can see this is a video that I've legitimately edited here on GarageBand. There you go. It's the Patreon 2-hour song challenge. There you go. Oh, that's cool. That's right. This is what I put together. Oh, that's the actual song. So this is the song that we put together during a Patreon 2-hour stream, a cover version of You Lost That Love and Feeling that sounds like this. You never close your eyes anymore. Which still hasn't got a copyright strike. It obviously sounds nothing, so little like the original that they haven't kind of picked up that that's actually an original song. So yeah, so LumaFusion is what I use mostly because you've got control. You've got 6 audio tracks, 6 video tracks here. You've got a whole bunch more controls in here for video editing. So iMovie is good though, and I have used iMovie on many occasions, and I've actually done some tutorials on iMovie here on the channel. So if you are looking to use yourself some iMovie and to edit in iMovie, it's actually pretty cool. It's got some good options in here to do editing these days. It's a lot better than it used to be. You've actually got the ability to use like transparent PNGs and to bring in different titling. The titling has been improved significantly. If you've ever used iMovie, there's like those old 4 title slides, like the one with the weird line in the middle that everyone uses on everything, the little sort of fizzing one that comes across the screen, always in white and with no control over where you put them, always right in the middle. Yeah, that's all been fixed. You got much better titling in iMovie now, but we'll jump over and take a look at that in more detail if we get questions about it. Speaking of questions, let's catch up on the chat and see if we do have any questions. I think I saw one here from Greg, who first of all says righty dokie, so therefore he gets a question. Question for all. Yeah, throw it out there. Anyone who's watching live, what's an app you underestimated until you started using it? What a good question. What's an app that I underestimated? I mean, the obvious is GarageBand because, hey, it is a lot of folks underestimate it, and I think that's a mistake. But something that I underestimate. I mean, Bruce Free, I've already talked about. I significantly underestimated that before I started using it. I didn't think it would do as much noise reduction as it does. You know what it is? It is the one that I've underestimated the most. That is actually really, really awesome. Is I'm blank on ToneBridge. So ToneBridge Amp Simulator. So I didn't use ToneBridge for the longest time. It took me a really long time to start using ToneBridge. And then when I finally did, I was like, where has this been all my life? If you've never used ToneBridge before, it's a bit ridiculous. So it is free to use. I'm just trying to bring up the audio and give you an example here in GarageBand, shall we? So, I mean, you can, and I've showed this recently. I've showed this a bunch, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. But you can obviously use your standard like amp simulators here in GarageBand. We'll turn that up. So there's nothing wrong with the standard amp sims that you have here in GarageBand, yeah? They sound pretty cool. But to know that you can use something like ToneBridge and actually dial in your own amp sounds based on songs, like actual popular songs, is super cool. If you've never used it before, we'll just take the stereo lag off there and we'll add in ToneBridge Audio Unit V3 plugin that we can throw on. And this is what it is, right? You can actually come in here and you can search out like your favorite songs and artists. So I was interested because I wonder if they have any Tool. So the guitar tone from Sober by Tool is really cool. See what I did there? And there you go. The solo riff that we have from Sober, we've now got that guitar tone. Now, because I've layered it up here on a guitar amp already, it's probably going to be pretty full on, but let's just play it and find out, shall we? Oh yeah. So that's going to be a bit aggressive, right? But what we can do is if we copy this bit of audio and put it just on a blank track down the bottom here. So we go boom, and audio recorder, we do fun and clean. This is, we'll turn on the monitoring. Oh yeah, it's going to come through my proper monitoring now. That's good. Come on, you can do it. Oh, I've got this issue with the mouse that they haven't fixed yet, where you can't click something, you have to actually physically tap it. It's a pain in the backside. All right, so we can come in here and we'll just paste it in just randomly, make sure it's soloed, and that one's not there. So now you've got like nothing much going on there, right? So that's just the default guitar tone. But now with ToneBridge, without using any other apps, and again, 100% free. So yeah, it's probably to Ace's question earlier, ToneBridge is probably the other free app that I would definitely grab. You can use it standalone too, and it's got a whole bunch more options. But here you go. We've added this Sober tone, and I'll just turn the volume down a bit in case we blow our ears off. Like you got the delay on there, you got everything. It's really cool. And if we go in and say we want to make this a little bit more of a punk tone, let's put the Offspring in here. Let's see what we got. It's just fun experimenting with this stuff and finding different tones. So we want the one from, what's a good Offspring song that we should go? Self-Esteem. Come on. Wow, 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 wow. Let's play this. Right? So yeah. Ultimate control and very, very cool. So yeah, ToneBridge would be my app that I underestimated until I finally used it. But let's see if anyone else has got any ideas or your own suggestions, throw them in the chat. Got to balance the hydration and the toilet breaks. I don't know how people do these 5 and 6 hour live streams because yeah, I don't know how you stay hydrated but don't have to run and pee all the time. Korg Gadget, there you go. So Joey says Korg Gadget and BandLab. Two things I've also never actually used, so I do need to do that. Mark says GeoShred is one that he's definitely had, didn't expect much of and has delivered on. Let's see, anyone else got any ideas? Yeah, ToneBridge is awesome. It is cool. It is good for a free app. Absolutely. Very, very cool. And Deep Gravity says I subscribe to Ultimate Guitar to help support the free app. Yeah, I subscribe to Ultimate Guitar. The one thing I dislike about Ultimate Guitar is I eventually subscribed to make it shut up. So if you've ever used Ultimate Guitar, the app, it asks you to subscribe about 3 or 4 times a session, to the point where I just went, okay, fine, you've ground me down, I'll subscribe, I'll pay you. So I don't know if that's exactly what you really want to do with your customers, but I guess, you know what? Do the ends justify the means? I don't know. But I did subscribe in the end because I wanted to use it on my iPad. And the problem was they're a bit tricky, because if you try to browse using your browser to Ultimate Guitar, the website, and it detects that you're on an iPhone or an iPad, it will send you to the app. And then it won't let you actually play along to tab unless you register with the app. So, yeah, I don't love that. I don't love the process. I don't love their business model, but I do love their products. And I feel okay now because they gave me ToneBridge for free when they do that. Let's see. Oh, they have a catheter. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that's yeah, doesn't make me feel good. Bubba says, I'm a lifetime subscriber. Don't even know if they still do that. Yeah, I think I'm that too, Bubba. I think I paid something like $50 like a couple of years ago, and now it hasn't bugged me forever, and I seem to be able to, yeah, it was about that, wasn't it? About $40. It hasn't bugged me since, and I just keep using it. So there you go. How are you doing? I have any questions? You may ask questions. Drop your questions either here in the chat or use the form. And speaking of the form, let's get my butt back over to the form if I can find the form. There it is. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. All right, we will. I'll delete these as we go along. That way I won't. Oh, it's funny, some of the questions that I get in here. Some people find the form and they're just like, I'm going to ask the funniest question ever. And yeah, it's not funny. It's never funny. Question from Happy Ron. So it's not really a question, but I did ask for folks, and I did ask for their music goals for 2021. So if you haven't told me your music goals for 2021, then yeah, let me know. But Happy Ron says, my goal is to have my music in film or TV, like my new Baby Yoda video. I haven't actually watched your Baby Yoda video, Ron, but I've seen you talk about it or every time I've seen you on social media lately. So I'm going to have to check it out. You've done what Ultimate Guitar have done to me. Problem is, I have no idea about the whole Mandalorian Baby Yoda thing because I'm not a Star Wars fan. I know, I'm sorry. I don't get into the memes. I don't understand, all the cultural fads and things that happen because I'm an old man. And that's my excuse anyway. Gary Hub says, if you get your song registered with Ultimate Guitar, you can submit a pedal to ToneBridge. I'm curious, for purely vanity purposes. That's super cool. So if you don't know about ToneBridge, you can, again, as we saw there, we searched for songs. And if you have a song, it sounds like you can create your own ToneBridge pedal for your own song. And then people can actually get the Gary Hub's ToneBridge pedal, which I think is awesome. I think you should do it, Gary. Do it, Gaza, and let us know how you go. There we go. How can I connect my mouse to my iPad? You can connect your mouse to your iPad in one of two ways. You can either do it via a USB to Lightning, say it with me folks, Lightning to USB 3 adapter, or the simpler way is to use Bluetooth. So any Bluetooth keyboard is going to also do you well and allow you to get connected. Now, instead of going through and showing you here, I'm going to show you the video that I've done. In fact, I've done a bunch of videos. Someone put a comment, which I must admit was pretty funny. This morning I was reading through my comments and they said, Pete, you're worse than the BBC with all the reruns that you have. And I'm like, yeah, because I showed the stereo lag time app and I've done a video on it before. And I mentioned it in my live show, and then I clipped the bit out of the live show and put it out as a standalone video. And whilst I completely get that yeah, if you watch everything that I do, I'm going to repeat myself. You're going to hear the same stuff again and again because I'm not going to give different advice every time, and I like the apps that I like. So there's that, but I do get it, and I do understand that, yeah, it may be repetitive, but the thing is, there's new people coming in all the time, and they're not necessarily going to go to the back catalog. So my advice to you is if you see a video, I'm not going to be offended if you skip past it if it's something that you've already seen, or if it's clearly a clip from a live show that you've watched, you don't have to watch it again. It's fine. I don't feel bad. But to answer your question here, Marty, all you need to do is jump over here. This video is probably the best one, how to connect a keyboard and a mouse to an iPad or iPhone. So if you search out my name in this video, I'm going to There you go. Pete John's keyboard, mouse. It'll drop you into this video, and you'll be able to check it on out. And it seems to be the most comprehensive guide that I've done, and it's only 7.5 minutes, and you've even got timestamps down here in the description, so you can jump straight to your Bluetooth or USB or whatever you need to do. So hopefully that helps you out. Enjoy your mouse connecting fun. Gary Harvest needs the lawnmower pedal. That would be a great pedal. The bubba pedal. I would use the bubba pedal. That does sound good. Yeah. Pete turning his nose at Star Wars. The next remix is getting lightsabers. Wing, wing, wing. Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm a bit weird. So here's the other thing. I'm going way off tangent here, but that's what these shows are all about. I will help and we'll answer any questions that come in, but I'm also going to be a bit ranty because it's fun to be. But so I have never owned AirPods, and I bought my first pair of AirPods. Here they are, yes. First pair of AirPods, the AirPods Pro, mostly because I was just getting a bit over all of the dongles and all the cables and all the things that I kept breaking. And I'm like, I've probably spent as much money on little lightning to 3.5mm dongles and adapters that I probably could have bought myself a set of AirPods in that time. But as soon as I bought these, I walked in, I put the box down on the counter, and I said, okay, so you can send me, you can give me my marching orders now. I'm officially a wanker. I officially own AirPods, and yeah, if you want to see the lawyers and get the divorce proceedings happening, I'll understand, because I have a problem in that I don't like things that are popular. And it's weird. It's a weird variant on the tall poppy syndrome. It's the new and cool syndrome where, for whatever reason, if something's new and everyone's using it and it's overhyped and I feel it's overrated, I kind of rage against it. And it's a bit weird. And I compare it to poker. When poker got really popular, I was already playing poker, and me and my friends would have a regular poker game. Then poker got super popular, and I was like, now poker's popular, I don't like it as much. So it's a weird thing. I know it's a completely mental thing for me. Makes no sense, but anyway. AirPods are good. I'm enjoying them. The microphone's pretty crappy, but the quality of the audio is good. But do not use Bluetooth stuff for recording music. It is not for music. It is for personal listening. Brad Example says, I made a video with iMovie and made a little shadow box theatre, and I think it came out kind of cute. Next time I will add more articulation, but check it out. That sounds interesting. I would definitely like to check that out, Brad. Make sure that you share it. Share it over on Create, Record, Release. That's the thing. Create, Record, Release, yes, it's audio, but if you're making video and you're editing videos together and it's got audio in it, I mean, video has audio by default. Unless you're making a silent film, video has audio. So if you're creating video stuff, jump over to the Facebook group, Create, Record, Release, and share it there. Would be cool. Yeah, official Apple Lightning to USB 3, of course. Yes, official and a Lightning to USB 3. That's right. You know it. The first day of Christmas. If you're missing the reference there, Jade did a very cool song. Might play it later. That could be my toilet break. I'll play Jade's rendition of the 12 Days of Christmas, so I can have a toilet break. That would be fun. Remind me to do that when we get to the halfway mark of the show. You're welcome. Thank you, and welcome to the channel and welcome to the community. I hope you enjoy your time here. Brad Example says, I always end up watching the same videos over and over because Pete says something in passing, and when I'm doing something I vaguely remember, oh yeah, Pete mentioned that, and I go back. And look, that's the other thing. I will put a different spin on it, and it's kind of like what I say about, Create, Record, Release. And if you go back to my motivational videos, I've probably got 10 videos that tell you a very basic thing, which is start creating music now, start creating music with whatever gear you have. Gear's not that important. The software you use doesn't really matter. Use whatever works for you in your workflow. I repeat these things, and everyone starts at zero. So you may feel like an imposter, but you're going to be fine. Just do it, and people don't care anywhere near as much as you think they will. So those kind of 5 statements, I could just say that and be like, okay, I'm done. Turn it off, shut down the channel, because I'm going to continue saying that sort of stuff because it's the truth, and it's my it's my opinion and it's my experience has been that that's how it all works and that's how it comes together. So Yeah, I don't know. I say all that to say I will keep repeating myself, but I will also not be offended if you don't like it, and I won't be offended if you don't watch every video I put out. I don't think you could. I know there's some of you that do a really good job, and I do appreciate you, all the regular folks who are here on all the shows, but I have zero expectation that everyone's watching everything. I think as soon as you think you can please everyone all the time, you're in for a pretty bad time because it's not going to happen for you. My opinion. Anyway, Langston Reese checking in. Hello to you, my friend. Hope you are doing well. The chat has just flown on by. Kim, hello to you. But I saw your comment on one of my videos today saying that, yeah, your music goals for 2021 is to get your first song finished, and you're getting close, which is great. Looking forward to hearing that. Kim saying I'm the same way. Just got AirPods and I love them, using them now. I know, and I love them and I'm using them now, but so many people walking around for so long were clearly well, okay, in my head, I was thinking, you only got those AirPods because they're brand new and you want to look cool and funky, and I actually think you look like a bit of a dork. But that's, that's obviously not the case. That's just my brain doing some weird gymnastics to get myself there. Hello, Charlie Buxton says, hi Pete, tuning in from the UK tonight. Just a quick GarageBand question. I'm creating a GarageBand rock song. Would you recommend to cut both the lows and highs when EQing guitar? It's a really interesting question. So let's jump over to GarageBand. Not to that. That was my video. We'll jump over. We'll drop this one down by doing that and that to reveal my iPad. So let's talk guitars and EQing guitars, because it's such a personal thing. And this is the problem. There's no one way to do anything. Depends on the tone you're getting, depends on the other instruments in the song, depends on what you're actually trying to do here. But I tend to not do a lot of EQing on guitars at all. But when I do, what I'll do is if I've got a guitar on the left and the right, I'll do some complementary EQ. So that just means finding a frequency I like in one guitar and boosting it, and then reducing that same frequency. So if I've got two guitars on the left and the right, I want them to sound differently. I'll boost one and reduce one at the other end. In terms of the actual EQ, let's just check this guitar. Do I have any EQ? Okay, so I have some extensive EQ on this one, and I have in fact dropped down the bass and the mids and given it a treble boost. So I obviously found, for whatever reason, that's what I wanted to do with this guitar at this time. Let's find the other guitars here. So what have I done on this one? Something, yeah, see, there you go. So there I have given it a boost in those areas. So I don't tend to come in here and go, let's just, do a low cut or a high pass filter on everything just to reduce the rumble. But if you've got guitar tones and you're finding that it's competing with your bass and your kick drum and your low end stuff, then yeah, it may make sense to do that. In fact, let's grab these. Let's do a little wee bit of experimentation. So we've got these two guitars, probably doing some chugga chugga along here in this song, I believe. So let's play these. So we've got that tone over here on the left. Oh, I was going to say, why is that so crunchy? It's because we've got that ToneBridge tone. There you go. And you can see here, I've pulled out a lot of the low end on that tone. Probably because I was finding that it was competing too much with the bass. Let's turn it up. If we bring this up, hear how that's getting much more sludgy? So obviously at the time, I wanted to remove that. But at the top end here, I've actually added a little bit of air, because if I brought it down like that, it kind of sounds too muted, right? So I wanted to give it a little bit of sparkle at the top end, because it's playing those higher notes there. Whereas if we go over to the other guitar that I was using here at the time, this modern UK guitar. Oh, Jesus. Sorry, that was loud. Again, I've got the boost there, and I could do the same thing. In fact, in hindsight, I probably should have actually brought this down just to do a high pass filter so it wasn't creating any rumble. But again, because it's doing those leady parts here, there's not actually much bass frequency in there. So adjusting the bass doesn't actually do much yet. But again, it's down to personal preference. I tend to listen first. There are some times where, especially if I'm using virtual guitar amps, I'll literally not touch it at all. I'll just put the guitar amp in there and I'll just trust it. And then maybe I'll twiddle. That's the other thing. You can also twiddle the knobs. You can also twiddle the knobs on your actual guitar amp. So it also depends on what you set here. Remember, this is the EQ, and you can EQ it going in or you can EQ it coming out. Either way is fine. So I might want to adjust the bass and the mids and the treble right here on the amp, and then I don't have to touch any EQ at all in my actual mixing. So I know that wasn't answering your question, but that's a few concepts, a few ideas that may help you if you are EQing and mixing guitar. So thank you for your question, and thanks for being here. Mark says, better that the new AirPod Pro price is just short of a Mac Mini, right? Especially the. So when I got home and I told my wife that I bought AirPods Pro, and she's like, "How much do they cost?" I'm like, she's like, "Did you say $1,299?" I'm like, no, $399. See, it's so much cheaper than that. But yeah, the new AirPod Pro Matt. No, what are they called? AirPod Pro Studio, which is an ironic name because do not use them in the studio because they are not designed for using with music. But let's I'll show you these. If we go to our friends at Apple, just while we're talking about this stuff. Oh, Apple. Oh, I love you, Apple. But if we go here and we search for AirPods, there are the original AirPods, the AirPods Pro, which I've got. And I've mostly got these for the noise cancelling, which is really good, actually. Really good noise cancelling. But also that they have the silicone tips. I don't actually like the ones that just stick in there with the hardness. Like they fall out all the time. The silicone tips in the AirPod Pros are good. But these ones, the AirPods, oh, they are the AirPods Max. I thought they were the AirPods Studio. Maybe they're the Studio Max. I don't know. They couldn't use Studio because they'd be infringing on my copyright. Well, they come in pink. There you go. But yeah, they've got, apparently the case is really shoddy with these. But yeah, look at that price tag. So here in Australia, 899 Aussie dollar bucks for a pair of headphones. And yes, apparently they're really good. They've got like 17 microphones and 14 processors in each ear. But again, for Bluetooth headphones too. And I know the latency on Bluetooth is better now. If you're wondering why I say don't use Bluetooth for audio production, it's because there's latency. And even if it's only a couple of milliseconds of latency, you can notice it. And you're already dealing with USB latency, with audio interfaces and microphone latency. You don't need to add additional latency into your chain, especially for $100 bucks. You can buy yourself some Senis, some Sennheiser HD 280 Pros, or about 150 here in Australia. But yeah, yes, you have to deal with a cable, I know, but you know what? You're plugging something in. When you're in the studio, you're dealing with cables anyway, right? Because you've always got mic cables or guitar cables or MIDI cables or USB cables. So yeah, AirPods are good, but the new AirPods Max, maybe not. I don't know. Up to you. Brandon Taylor says, what all doors except MIDI transport? So which DAWs, which software supports MIDI? So GarageBand in iOS supports MIDI in, doesn't support MIDI out. So keep that in mind. Complete MIDI in and out, Audio Pro, Cubasis, and pretty much every desktop DAW going around. So GarageBand on Mac, Reaper, Pro Tools, Studio One. Desktop DAWs generally support MIDI transport. If you mean transport controls, so if you mean like where you've got a MIDI keyboard that has the play pause button, yeah, I don't think any of the mobile apps support a lot of the transport controls. I could be wrong on that. Someone like Jade or Mark or someone or Bubba, if you've used Aurea or Cubasis and you've used it with a MIDI keyboard that has additional functions, knobs and sliders and transport controls, I haven't actually tried it. I remember Reaper. Reaper used to have really good MIDI configuration options on the PC. So I would go for Reaper if you're using something like that. MIDI import. Yeah, so pretty much everything has MIDI import. GarageBand definitely has MIDI import without a problem. Who else have we got here? Hello to the Ralph William podcast. Thoughts on Koala Sampler app integrated with GarageBand. So I'll have a quick drink. We'll talk about Koala Sampler. Because Koala Sampler, Koala Sampler is actually very cool. If you've not used Koala Sampler before, it is an app. I'll bring it up here and I'll show you. Now, the reason that I haven't used Koala Sampler much is that I haven't found a really good way to integrate it with GarageBand, because it's kind of a standalone thing in its own world here. So, yeah, there's all. Let's just turn that down. So the idea of Koala Sampler is that you actually have these pads and you record in a sound and then you play them back. Now, I don't have a microphone plugged in, so this is probably not going to work so well. Bob, 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 bob. No, not going to work. But assuming you had a microphone plugged in, you can actually just tap and hold on a pad and record a sound, and then you can sequence them together to create your own songs, and then you can actually perform those by using like different effects on here and basically mix them in real time. So it's very, very cool. But it's not a UV3. And no, Jade, before you jump on me, I know Interapp audio stuff's all good as well, but I haven't found a really good workflow to integrate it into GarageBand yet. And I say yet because I love this app. My children love this app. It's so much fun to play with. You can chop and split and cut and do everything that you want to do. But for me personally, with the sort of music that I make, I just haven't found a really good use case for it yet. But it is definitely, it's a lot of fun to play with in terms of a sampler sequencer that's just simple and effective and easy to use and named after a very cute but actually vicious animal from Australia. If you've never been to Australia and you've never been around koalas, those things are dicks. Like they're horrible. They're like claws and scratchy and always smell like eucalyptus. Now, they're now getting a reputation. They'll be just like, what you got to pick on koalas, man? Why are you dissing koalas? They're your national animal. I'm like, no, my national animal is the kangaroo, and we eat them. Yeah, we're a bit weird in Australia, aren't we? Don't get me started on the drop bears. Let's continue on. But yeah, no, thank you for bringing up Koala Sampler because it is very, very cool. I like it. We'll answer one more question here in the live chat, and then we'll jump on over to the form again because there is a form, and you can do that. Yeah, Peter's an imposter. I didn't know he played Among Us. I don't play Among Us except when my children beg me to play Among Us, and then I play with them. But it's fun. It's a good game, right? I'm not above those fads. I watch Mr. Beast. I play Among Us. I'm okay. Question here from Mangoes at Midnight Food Review. Should I upgrade my computer or should I get a new audio interface? Right now I have a Scarlett 2i4. My computer is a late 2009 iMac with Logic Pro 10.5. Logic Pro X 10.5. So it really depends. I know that it's frustrating to get an answer. It depends. But the answer really depends on what you're producing. So if you're producing music and you're doing lots of tracks and you really need that processing power, then upgrading your computer is probably a good idea because a 2009 Mac, I'm imagining you're going to hit the wall in terms of processing power and memory pretty quickly if you're using Logic. But if you're doing, eight track just band projects or just, vocals and guitars and not using a whole bunch of plugins and effects and apps, then you're probably absolutely fine. And maybe you want better audio quality coming in. The thing is, the Focusrite Scarlett 2i4 is actually it's pretty solid. Like you need to go out of that sort of $100, $200 consumer interface and up to something like an Apollo or something higher end or the Scarlett Claret series before you're going to see and hear, more to the point, a significant gain. The other way you could go is if you're recording microphones, you could go with a separate preamp and then send that into your Focusrite Scarlett so you can actually improve your microphone quality if you're recording microphones. But yeah, a lot of it depends on what you're recording and what end result you're looking for there. But yeah, and the other thing is, if it ain't broke, right? So sometimes you don't need to upgrade anything at all if it's all working for you. But yeah, it really depends. If you're doing a lot of stuff and you're finding it frustrating because your computer's slowing down or you can't add the tracks or the effects you want, computer upgrade. If it's the audio quality that you're finding that the preamps or that the inputs or the converter is not up to scratch, then maybe invest in your interface. The other thing is the newer interfaces that have like a USB 3 connection, they may not play nicely with your older hardware. So it's kind of that whole bottleneck thing as well that gets a little bit tricky. But thank you for being here and cool name, Mangoes at Midnight Food Review. I want to go eat some mangoes. It's mango season here in Australia. I'm going to go eat some after the show. My daughters really like them. They won't like that if I eat their mangoes. Got a bit of a husky voice today. I'm going to have to shut up for the next 2 days to get ready for next weekend's podcast. Where are you from? I am from the city of Adelaide, South Australia. So, yes, very nice place to be at the moment. Nice weather, 23 degrees today. Looking good. Who else is here? And we'll just see if we've got any final questions before I jump back to the form. Just scrolling down. There you go. I'm from Afghanistan, and nice to see you. We have a player, Rashid Khan, who is an Afghani cricketer, and he plays on the Adelaide Strikers cricket team, probably the best T20 cricket player in the world. So there you go. Craig O, hello to you. Question. I bought Cubasis 3 from using GarageBand. When I move an audio file, it only moves the lines on the track. I can't manually move it side to side where I want to specifically move it. In Cubasis? In Cubasis 3. Let's fire up Cubasis and I'll see if I can. It's hard sometimes to know exactly what's happening and exactly what you're talking about, but we'll see if I can. I'll bring up my Cubasis and we'll see if we can work out what you're meaning here. I'll just take your comment away there. So, are you talking in terms of if you've got, say, an audio wave file like this, you want to be able to move it? So if we tap on that, oh, hang on. See, I haven't used Cubasis in so long, I'm going to struggle with this, aren't I? So we've selected it, we tap and hold, and we drag it like that. Is that the sort of thing that you're looking to do? Are you saying that things aren't moving when you're dragging it like that, or is there something else going on that I'm missing? Now I've got to remember how to undo. When I first started using Cubasis, I couldn't find the undo, and it was somewhere really obvious. Oh, that's right, it's right up here. I keep looking for it up here, but it's just here. Boom, undo. There you go. But yeah, it may be, the other problem is sometimes, no, see, if you've got something right up against it like that, you might need to trim it first. So you might need to grab the corner and trim it off like that before you can actually move it to the place that you want it. Yes, I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, if you can provide some more details, maybe someone can help out or I can help out if I can. But yeah, I'm still getting my head around Cubasis. I'm still much more at home with GarageBand than Cubasis. So Tom and Ralph must have said that earbuds are uncomfortable. Yeah, I'm the opposite. I get sweaty ears when I have these cans on for too long, and when I'm out and about, I also walk a lot. And the good thing, I used to only be able to wear one earbud. The good thing about the AirPods Pro is they have transparency mode, which means they have microphones on the outside, so you can still hear the traffic noise and the ambient noise surrounding you, so I won't get run over by a truck. So that's always good. Hello, Orchestra Eclipse. Good to see you here. Thanks for coming along. I'll just see. There you go. Also got an Apple Pencil. Oh, my daughter just got the Apple Pencil as well with her new iPad. She's loving it. Loving it. Right. Okay, we'll answer this one, and then I will actually get back to the form. Aura Vibes, hello to you. Hey Pete, I have a question. Do you recommend buying a MIDI controller like the Novation Launch Key or Arturia Mini Lab to someone who doesn't have any music theory knowledge? What a good question. Yeah, let's jump in and answer that in a sec. So, do I recommend buying a MIDI controller like the Novation Launch Key? Yeah, it's a tough one because if you don't have any music theory knowledge, playing on a keyboard is not going to, well, it depends. How much do you want to learn? That's probably the bigger question is if you're willing to learn, then it's actually going to be good because it'll actually help you learn. And now, if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, let's bring it up on the screen so you can see what we're going. So the Novation Launch Key, so something like this. Boom, 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 boom. Novation Launch Key. Oh yeah, okay, fine. You can track all my stuff. So Novation Launch Key are these little suckers here. So they're a very popular MIDI keyboard. You've got your standard stuff there. You've got your mod wheels and you've got your pitch bend. Come in 25 up to 88 key modes. You've got the little pads here that you can program in depending what software you're using, and a bunch of sliders here again on the larger models. So there you go. There's a better video of it. Nice tap. Good job, bro. So you can use this for drum pads. You can use it for keyboards. And that's the thing. It's probably more useful to get something like the Launchpad or the Arturia Keystep if you're not a keys player, because as well as that, you get things like your slider control, you get your knobs, you get your drum pads, and depending what software you're using, that can come in really handy for programming drums, for triggering samples, for doing a whole bunch of other things. And the reason I said, do you want to learn, is that using the keyboard can actually help your music production. You don't have to learn theory. You don't have to know the difference between a diminished and an augmented chord, but just understanding that there are 12 semitones between C and C can actually help you with your music production, and learning the different chords and learning how to just learn how to play a C chord, an F chord, and a G chord on a keyboard and you're kind of away. Like you can do it in steps. So I do recommend it. When people get into music, I say the first thing you need is a device. So you need an iPad or an iPhone or a Mac or a PC, because if you're going to use digital recording these days, you kind of need something to record on. The next thing I always recommend is an audio interface, because especially if you're recording microphones or guitars, you're not going to get great quality audio until you get something like that. I'll then recommend microphones, especially for those doing vocals and that sort of thing. Then it's headphones, something like this, and then it's MIDI keyboard. So it's kind of number 5 in the gear recommendation list, but it also depends. If you're doing all electronic music, MIDI keyboard is obviously going to come well before mic. You don't even need a mic, and it probably even comes before audio interface. You probably just need a pair of good headphones to plug in and a MIDI keyboard, and you're off to the races. So I know I say all that to sort of say it depends, but yeah, it depends. But I would definitely consider it. Or the other thing is, before you invest in something like this, which is several $100s, get yourself a cheap 25 or 37 or 40 key keyboard, just a standard MIDI keyboard, and play around with it. Just see if it works for you, because even if it's just got the keys, you can use it to trigger drums, you can use it for keyboard sounds, for synths, for pads, for a bunch of stuff. So hopefully that gives you some thoughts and some ideas. As Tom says, koalas also smell terrible from what I've heard. Cute as a button though. Yeah, they're 2021 quotes. Those things are dicks. Yeah, there you go. Koalas are dicks. I'm gonna get a new T-shirt that says koalas are dicks. That would be weird. And yes, a dingo ain't your baby. I hear a dingo ain't your baby. No, I've got to do it in the weird, not actually Australian accent. Let's go back to the form and answer some more questions. So I'm going to delete that one out. We're going to come to the next one. This is from Arseni Milko. Cool. Let's jump in here. I'll throw it in here so we can actually see what I'm answering at the same time. Boom. How can I make a legit and super good rap on iPad? I am getting a mini piano so I can produce pro GarageBand music. Yeah, go back to the last question. Yeah, so a MIDI keyboard can help if you're creating electronic music. If you are rapping, all the stuff I talked about at the start around noise reduction with your microphone is important, because you want a clean sound, especially with rap, because you can't kind of hide behind like some distorted guitars and drums and bass and lots of reverb, because generally rap music, you're going to mix your vocals up a bit louder and clearer, so you want the best quality that you can get. I say all that, you can still use what you have. So if you've got an iPhone or an iPad, start with the built-in mic and go from there. But good luck on your journey, because it is fun. It is cool to record. We live in the future, folks, where everyone can record and do their thing, and it's fun. William Ride has a question, and so that I can read it better, I'm going to pop it over here. Oh, it hasn't worked because it's cut it off. StreamYard only has a limitation. So in OS GB, my amp sims work great with all the same equipment, along with an Apple camera adapter and an Atola USB hub. Yet in iOS GB, my amp sims all sound the same. Any troubleshooting would be highly appreciated, Pete. Thanks for everything. That's an interesting one. So you're saying that you're plugging in your guitars. If you do it in GarageBand on a Mac and you play the different amps, you're getting different amp tones. You're doing exactly the same thing, but you're using the GarageBand amps and they're all sounding the same. Like exactly the same? Or are you just saying that the tones are a bit generic? Because you do get a lot more options. The difference between the GarageBand guitars, as I'm quickly learning in GarageBand iOS versus Mac, is quite substantial. So I'll load up GarageBand on Mac here just so I can give you a quick demo. Hopefully this doesn't... I think last time I did this, it actually caused me audio issues and broke my stream. But we'll cross our fingers and make sure that doesn't happen. So here's GarageBand on the Mac. And when you add a new... just add a new audio track. And we'll go electric guitar and bass. So you do have quite a few different options in here. You've got a bunch of different settings here. You've got EQ controls. You've got a bunch of different pedals as well. A lot more pedals in here than you actually have. So maybe it's more that you've got a lot more ability to customize your tone. You really get with the amp sims in iOS. they're pretty limited. And that's where you probably would lean towards using some other sort of amp sim, using a ToneBridge or a Crunk from Nembrini or Bias FX or GE Labs or whatever you're going to use over the default ones. The default guitars are good and they're solid and they're reliable. But yeah, you might look to use something a bit different. If you're on iOS. In Mac, though, you get a lot more options and there's a lot more tones that you can actually dial in here that are going to help you out. So maybe, yeah, I know that's not really answering the question, but I would just experiment with more of the tones and try ToneBridge. So just have your same setup with your interface and your guitar, and then instead of using the amp sims, load up ToneBridge and then just see if that's going to help your tones. That's going to help you dial in some cooler tones, and good luck. Let's see if I can remember how to quit GarageBand. I don't know how to quit you, GarageBand. Okay, I'm not going to save the changes to the... I just muted myself because I don't want to. Let's come back to the chat and we'll see if we have any other questions. So I think Greg was helping out. So Greg says, on the upper right corner, there's options for snap to change to off. Oh, okay. Yeah, changing the snap to grid. As Greg has said, yeah, you can turn snap to grid off by doing exactly that. Hopefully that helps you out. Brad example says, I got the iRig Keys IO25. I don't play keys at all, but got that one because it's also an interface. Yeah. So if you're looking for keys, that might be a good option because you have an interface built in. I'm glad because I've never spoken to anyone who has the iRig Keys. It looks really cool, and it looks like something that if you had nothing at all, as Brad says here, it would be a good option. I'll show you what it is because it's exactly as Brad explains here. It's not cheap. It starts at about $400 here in Australia, and I think they're about what $250, $300. I'll check it in a moment. But here it is, the iRig Keys, and as Brad mentioned, it is, it's pretty standard 25 key keyboard. You've got your octave controls, you got volume, you got your pitch bend and your modulation wheels. But where it really stands apart is that you connect it up via either Lightning or USB, and that's not going to show us. See, Sweetwater usually have better pictures that actually show you the features than the actual place. I've found that anyway. Well, they got a January clearance sale. Oh, see, the good thing is I can't shop at Sweetwater. If you're in the US or Canada, you can, but I can't because they won't send it to me. I even asked them because I'm an affiliate of Sweetwater. If you use my gear guide, you'll see that I'm affiliated with Sweetwater. iRig Keys. Oh, iRig Keys IO is the one. Sorry. That's why I was getting confused. It's the iRig Keys IO, not just... There's the iRig Keys, which is just your MIDI keyboard, but the iRig Keys IO is this one here, which, you can see on the back there, if we just spin it around. Yeah, look at this. So it's a standard keyboard, but on the back there, you can see you've got monitor outs, you've got phantom power, you've got an input there for guitar or mic. It's actually a pretty good deal. I think Patrick actually reviewed one of these over on the GarageBand guide. So yeah, it's your all-in-one thing. If you wanted just like one thing to have on there, yeah, there you go. Brad's giving us the info here. Says it's amazing. It's got phantom power, quarter-inch, and outputs for monitors. Yeah, exactly. You got balanced outputs, TRS outputs. You got quarter-inch input as well as XLR, phantom power. You can plug everything in. So it's a single-channel interface. So it's like an iRig Pro IO and an iRig Keys, and they smushed them together. So you've got everything in the one device. It does indeed look pretty cool. Maybe I need to get one and check it out. Maybe not. Gary says, yeah, I've hidden a lot of garbage noise behind guitars. Yeah, just do that. Go with it. Go with the guitars. Full-size keys. Does it have a full-size keys? It's a good question. We'll have to ask Brad. They look full-size on the 49 key. Maybe I don't think the 25 key is full-size. This is the 49 key one, which is $299. Let's see if we can find iRig Keys. Is it 37, the smaller one? I don't think they have it. No, they don't have the IO version. Or is it the 25? There's a 25 key IO, isn't there? There it is. $199. Yes, I don't think they look pretty full size. Yeah. They're cool. The keys, I don't think they're weighted, but they kind of feel like they are. I think they are semi-weighted, I believe, which means that they kind of have a bit of a tactile feel to them. Anyway. Yeah, that's pretty cool. The 25 key one's like a little dude here, and again, $200. I think they're about Oh, no, they're not in stock at the moment. Yeah, they're about 300 here in Australia. So, again, I mean, yeah, you could get yourself an M Audio Key Station 49 and a Steinberg UI22C for the 299, but for 199, that's pretty good. You can't really get yourself a MIDI keyboard and a decent audio interface for 199, so that's not a bad price, I must admit. Pretty enticing. Ron Ward is in the house. Hello to you, Ron. If you're a GarageBand user, you got some pretty exciting news last week because GarageBand Live, GBU Live with Ron Ward is back on. So Wednesday evenings here in Australia, Wednesday mornings, I believe, if you're in the US and Canada, and sort of Wednesday middle of the day if you're in the UK. But yeah, if you're a GarageBand user and you're not a member of the GarageBand Users Facebook group, what are you doing? You got to do it, right? Absolutely. Happy New Year to you, to Mega D. Hope you are doing well. Let's jump back over to the form because we got some more questions. If you're just joining us and you want to ask a question, you can throw it here in the chat. But if you want to make sure I get to it and provide enough detail, then jump over to the form. It's pinned at the top of the chat right now, and it looks a little bit... Oh, no, I've lost the chat. I can't even go high enough in the chat because it's all gone past. But let's come back over here and we'll see our next question. So we answered that one from William, hopefully, at least a bit. Next question we have here is from Baz, and it says, I just got an iPad Air 4 from Santa for Christmas, which is awesome. So yes, we talked about that at the start, that iPad Air 4th Gen are a really good piece of kit. And if you don't quite have the dollars for a Pro, or you don't think you need the Pro, but you want to make sure that you're future-proof for the next sort of 4 or 5 years, iPad Air 4th generation. It's where it's at. It's the way to go. All right, we'll remove that one. Yes, Google, I will delete it. So Paintorget. I still can't say that name. Do you have any experience with Zoom hardware? Yes. So I'll pop this here just so that you know what I'm talking about. Any experience with Zoom hardware, such as the U24, etc.? So, short answer is yes, because I use a Zoom LiveTrack L8. Although I don't right now, it's sitting here, and I'm very sad because it's gathering dust because my Mac, the new Mac M1 in Big Sur, does not have a driver to support it. And no, I haven't reached out to Zoom yet. And yes, I do need to, but I'm too busy doing shows, so and doing other jobs and projects. So I haven't done that yet. I'm just using my Samsung MixPad at the moment, and the sound quality is not as good, but it's pretty good. So I'm going with it for now. The Zoom interfaces I haven't used extensively. If you're wondering what we're talking about, Zoom are, of course, the folks that make the handy recorder. They've been sort of at the top end of field recording for a really long time. They've more recently got into audio interfaces and mixers and the like. And as well as the handy recorder, they now have this little sucker here, the handy interface. This one here. So it's actually really quite compelling. And I've been on the verge of buying one a bunch of times. So this is the U24, $150. It's a portable audio interface. So it's similar to, the reason I don't have this is that I ended up going with the iRig Pro IO, which is basically the same as this. The differences are, this has got a few more options. So this has things like your RCA in and out. So you can actually use line in and out from other gear and record that. You've got your headphone out there, of course. You've got balanced TRS outs. You've got 2 inputs here with separate gain controls, 48 volts of phantom power, and XLR as well as TRS connections. And then you've got your headphone and main output there. And you've even got a mix dial there for your latency-free monitoring. So, again, pretty compelling. I have heard, though, that the preamps are a little bit noisy. And it's all second-hand information. I haven't actually used one. And I do eventually want to... Look, even got MIDI on this sucker. Like, got 5-pin MIDI. Like, it's got everything. And it just uses 5-volt DC power. So you can power it from a portable battery, or you can plug it into the wall. USB bus powered too. So it's kind of got everything that you'd ever need. And it's made by Zoom, so the quality is going to be pretty good. Have I ever used one? No. Would I? Yeah, I'm kind of keen to check one out. Maybe what I should do is say to Zoom, since my Zoom LiveTrack is like a brick now, because you don't have a driver for Mac, you should send me a U24 to check out. And I believe there's also the U44, which has a few more options on there. I can't remember what they are at the moment. I think it just has additional inputs. Yeah, there you go. You've got, yeah, so it's got 4 inputs. So but the fourth inputs are only like RCA or SPDIF. So it's more for like DJs and folks using external gear. So you've still only got your 2 inputs at the front there, for inputs 1 and 2, but then you've got like a 3 and 4 on the back, and you've got this funky connector. You can actually connect up the microphones. So your 3 and 4 you can get one of the little microphone capsules from a handy recorder and plug it in. So you could actually have, say, 2 microphones going into 1 and 2, and then use a stereo mic, and that'll go into 3 and 4. So yeah, there's some options there. But that one's what, 170? That's pretty good. 179 for the U44. It's worth considering. It's worth exploring if you have nothing, again, and you wanted something that is going to be portable and pretty good quality. I've heard good things, but again, I just keep hearing this little inkling that there's. In fact, let's check the reviews here. Let's see if anyone mentions it. No, I'm not going to be able to go through it. Everyone seems to like it there. Look, that's lots of reviews. Intermittent problem with the drivers. That's what the bottom one there says. I hear you. Driver problems and Zoom kind of go hand in hand, don't they? A little bit. Alrighty, we'll come back over. Grab another live question here. Michael says, do you recommend the Sony MDR 7506? And random question, but do you own a cloud lifter? I'll answer the second one first. No, mostly because I use this microphone. So this is, I'll just take it out here at the risk of ruining everything. Now this looks like a handheld dynamic mic, right? But it's actually a condenser. So this is the Audio-Technica AE3300. It's the Artist series, and Artist Elite series. And despite the fact that it looks like a regular like SM58 style microphone, it's actually a condenser. And being a condenser and being my main broadcast microphone that I use, I don't actually need a cloud lifter. What a cloud lifter does is it lifts your audio signal. If you're using something like an SM58 or an SM7B or a dynamic microphone, you may find that you don't get enough gain. You have to turn your volume up too much to get enough gain coming in and enough signal so that folks can hear you. The beautiful, the benefit of the condenser mic is it uses phantom power, which means it usually gives you a stronger signal, which means you usually don't need additional gain using something like a cloud lifter. The Sony MDR 7506, I haven't used them. I'm going to be completely honest. I haven't used them, but I'll jump over here and we'll show folks. They do have a really, really good, does have a good reputation here. So it's these ones here, the Sony MDR 7506 closed back headphones. Very similar in specs to what I use, which are the Sennheiser HD 280 Pro. And I think it really just, whatever side of the fence you land on. And look, I haven't used them, but if you look at the cups are very similar to these. The reason I use Sennheiser is you've got these nice oval-shaped cups. I think the Sonys, by the looks of them, they use very similar cups there, similar sorts of headband there, similar sorts of accessories even. Look, it's even got the curly cord. You've got the same sort of curly cord there. You've got the same gold screw-on plate adapter at the end there. So it's very similar. I think they are almost the same, and I'm pretty sure that when I've checked them in the past, the frequency response is pretty much the same. So I don't think it really matters. As long as the more important thing about headphones is that you're used to the ones that you use, right? So you know what your headphones do. The flatter the frequency response, the better. And for recording, you want closed back. So that just means that the audio seals, you got a seal around your ears, none of the audio escapes, which means you don't get bleed into your microphone, etc. But yeah, whether you use Audio-Technica or AKG or Sennheiser, it's really more of a personal preference, to be honest. So yeah, these ones, a lot of folks use them, the 7506s, a lot of folks love them. I happen to use the HD280s. One day maybe I'll try them and see what they're like. But yeah, let me know. Anyone who does try them, let me know. Yeah, Mark says it's 6 a.m. here in Montreal and I can never find a link for the replay. Ron, make sure when we do the GarageBand Weekly, so just talking about GarageBand Weekly there, make sure that you put it as an announcement. Once the show's over, I know you put it as an announcement when it's going to be. When you're doing the live show, chuck as an announcement and leave it there for a couple of days because other folks have said the same thing, that they couldn't find the video. Sion says, I have the U44 and it's pretty cool. I like the fact that it's battery powered. There you go. So you've got a first-hand comment on that. Tom says, the Zoom U24, that's the interface I have. It's worked great for me. No lines in though, Pete. Those are all outputs. Okay. Thank you for confirming that, Tom. So I'll bring it back up here. So sorry, I thought it was I thought you could use the line in or the line out. Oh, okay. It's an A and a B line outputs. Okay. So you can't actually record that. Looks like you can on the other one, on the U44, but on the 24, yeah, there you go. You've only got 2 channels, and they're this and this. So you could still do stereo in, but you'd have to use TRS. But then you've got 2 line outputs, A and B. Are they separately controllable, though? Like the A and the B? Why would you have 2 outs? You've only got 1 main out and 1 headphones. I wonder. Anyway, you've got two line outs, but thank you. Thank you for clarifying that one. So there you go. And yeah, that U44 has the attachment for the mic. Exactly. Very cool. Let's see. Good answers. Or my answer is radio unit. Now, is radio unit that weird one that Jade showed in a show recently? I'm not sure. It looked weird, whatever it was. But yeah, maybe I need to play with it, because if it's underrated, I'm assuming Greg's going back to the question about what apps you use that you didn't rate, but then you used them and they were cool. The AKG 240, yeah. So that's another option if you go down the AKG route with your headphones. I don't like AKG headphones, but the reason is not anything to do with the quality. The reason is the shape of my noggin. So the shape of my head doesn't play nicely with AKG. So you can see here, these are semi-open. So that's the other thing. These are good for, so semi-open means that they'll sit kind of on your ears. So they're not going to be great for tracking, but they will be good for mixing. So if you're mixing or mastering, they're good. Tracking, not the greatest. But yeah, look at those cup sizes and shape. They just don't fit around my ear very well. They're not comfortable for me. And because they sit on top, I just don't ever get a good fit. And I don't like the AKG bands. I actually have a pair of AKG... Can't remember the numbers now. Not these ones, the slightly cheaper ones. Although that's a good price for these, $69 right now. Anyway, but yeah, I don't like the headband, the way that adjusts. I prefer the ones that actually adjust on the side here. The AKG you kind of stick on, and it's just like spring-loaded on top of your head. So yeah, I'm not a fan. But again, they're cool, and it's whatever works for you. I'm not here to tell you what to not use or to use. I guess I kind of am, but yeah, whatever you use, whatever works for you. Kim says, I use them. They're pretty good, but seem to have a lot of high end. They're also the only ones I've ever used. Yeah, and look, and if you know that, if you're mixing and you're recording and you're like, okay, I need to be careful because I know my monitor headphones have a little additional high end, then yeah, you just have to be conscious of that. When you go listen on your car or your home stereo or your Bluetooth speaker or whatever, and you hear that high end coming through, you just need to go, yeah, okay. So I need to make sure I dial down the high end and make sure that things aren't too piercing at the top end. There you go. Amaracia, you know what makes me mad? You know what grinds my gears? AirPods Max can be used with a wire, but only for charging. The sound itself is always Bluetooth. Yeah, I know, right? What? Yeah, I don't know. Like with all of the stuff that they put in there, they couldn't have included. Like I think they just refused to. I think they've just said no. Headphone jacks are dead to us. I think they've refused it because how easy would it be to just put a 3.5mm TRS jack input on one end? And just sell it, even if you sold an optional. If someone's spending $900 on headphones, they're probably going to pay $50 for like a nice white curly cord that's just a 3.5mm at each end that bypasses the Bluetooth and sends the output into the headphones via 3.5mm. But they probably would have had to use an extra millimeter of space inside the cone, and then therefore that would just be the worst thing in the world. I don't know. See you, Mark. Thank you for being here, and ciao to you. Thanks for that. Let's see. What have we got? Greg Hernandez says, proper cup size is critical for comfort. Yeah, and it's why there's 2 things that I say that you can buy them online, but if you can get to a store, I know it's tough for a lot of folks, that I recommend going and doing that. And that is headphones, so that you can actually try them on. If you're going to be wearing these for hours at a time, like I'm an hour and a quarter into a 2-hour stream, I need to make sure I got some comfortable headphones, right? So yeah, if you can get to a store and do that. The same is monitor speakers. Basically any listening devices. You can kind of get the idea of microphones, of audio interfaces, of MIDI keyboards without physically touching them and hearing them. Headphones, monitor speakers, I would always try to get somewhere to hear them because no YouTube review is going to be able to tell you how it feels and sounds in front of your face. So that's my take on it anyway. But yeah, Apple gives a 3.5 mil jack, but it only accepts carrots, right? Proper cup size is critical for comfort. Yeah, sorry. I just realised that's, yes, that has a bit of a second meaning there, doesn't it? You need a proper cup size for comfort in your jock straps and in your... God, we're getting way off track. So yeah, we were talking the Zoom, and we finished that question. We'll jump into the next one from Frigsy. Hello, Frigsy. Frigsy is one of my newer patrons over at patreon.com/patrons. So thank you for joining us there. Now he's got a long question here, so I'm going to just read it as opposed to trying to put it on the screen because it'll be too big for the screen. So Frigsy says, "Hi Pete, maybe you or some of your listeners could help me with a query around VSTIs. I'm pretty new to recording. I'm using Reaper on a 64-bit PC. When I download some free VSTIs, that's VST instruments, sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. For example, Spitfire and MT drums worked fine. However, when I downloaded some others, although they show as being VSTI, when I go to use them, it says there's no instrument. I'm assuming I'm doing something wrong. Any advice?" Really good question. Now, if you're in the Apple universe, you'll know about AU plugins, audio unit plugins on the Mac, or AUV3, audio unit version 3 plugins on iOS. And there's two types of plugins, right? There is the effect or effect plugins, which actually affect a track, and then there's instrument plugins. So plugins, VSTIs, which are actually instruments. So think things like Superior drums, if you've used something like that, or think the Ravenscroft 275 piano, iSymphonic. These are examples of plugins that are instruments. So VSTIs or AU instruments. So the question here is, why are some of them not working? Now, I do use Reaper, or let's rephrase that. I did use Reaper, and I do remember it being a little bit fussy about where your plugins are located. So sometimes you'll install a VST plugin and it will install it nicely into your Reaper plugins folder. Reaper will find it and it will say, there you go. Other times you would have to do some fancy footwork in terms of grabbing the VST files and moving them over into your Reaper folder so that it would actually find them when it boots up. Now, I would actually go over, to be honest, my recommendation is going to be to go to the Reaper user group. Now, there's a Reaper user group on Facebook. I think John Tidy, if he's still running it, he's my Reaper go-to guru. So I would come over here. Is it Reaper? It's the Rug, isn't it? Yeah, the Rug, the Reaper user group, the Rug, here on Facebook. Boom, there it is. And yeah, so go there, the Reaper user group. There's 17,000 members that all have a lot of love for Reaper. And yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to get an answer to whatever Reaper-related question you have. And by the way, if you're using a Mac or a PC and you want an alternative to GarageBand for whatever reason, well, on a PC because you can't use GarageBand, then Reaper is it. It's free to download and try the full version, and then it's only about $65, I think, to buy like an unlimited license. So it compared to things like Pro Tools and Studio One, it's really cheap and it's super powerful. I stopped using it because of reasons like this, of what Friggs is saying here. The learning curve is quite steep, and you can get it to do anything. It's one of those things. GarageBand's frustrations are its limitations, in that you want to do something and it limits you, you can't do it. Reaper's frustrations is that you can do anything, which means sometimes it's overwhelming and you are completely overwhelmed by choice. That's what I tended to find anyway. So yeah, that was my experience with it. So yeah, hopefully that helped you out. Yes, Gary Hubs did get me there. So give Jay back a little more. Alrighty, we'll see if we've got any other questions from the folks here live, and then we'll jump back to the form because we've got a few more to go here. Marcia said, I think I had the same problem with iSymphonic, which is why I stopped using it. Yeah, sometimes you get to that point with something where you're like, the frustrations I'm having at using this outweigh the benefits, so maybe I'll just stop. Fallen says, hi Peach, I've returned. I have returned. Welcome back. Apple sells a cable that is lightning at one end and 3.5 mil at the other. Yeah, they do. And they sell the little dongles that can convert your 3.5 mil headphones to lightning. So yeah, they do have those cables, but they don't work with the AirPods Pro Max $17,000 headphones, which is sad that you can't use them with an actual one. Yeah, you can get that genuine adapter at Target. Yeah, they're $15 here. They're like $7 or $8 in the US. So you can do that. All right, let's go. We've got a couple more questions. Then I might get an early minute here. I didn't mean to play the Jade's song, but we'll stick with the Q&A stuff for this one because, as you can hear by my voice, it is rapidly deteriorating. And for someone who uses their voice for their living, that's not a good deal, right? So let's move on. We'll remove that one. Come to our next question, and it is from our friend Amarasea, one of our moderators here. Let's throw this here. We'll create a banner. And it has, again, the questions are too long, so we can't fit them in there. But Amarasea says, is there a way to make it so when I open a song on the iPad that I started on my iPhone or vice versa, it doesn't open and save an old song and then update both devices so that the old save ruined the whole song? Fingers crossed this bug was fixed now, and I'm just being paranoid, not testing it out again. So, yeah, you're not necessarily being paranoid. It does. Here's the thing. If you have it open on your other device, it does that weird conflict thing where it actually creates another version, it names it after your device, and then I have the same problem. I lose control over which one's actually the version, and I end up messing everything up. The one tip that I can give you is as soon as you are done on one device, close the project and close GarageBand. Wait for it to upload to iCloud, and then go to your other device and start editing it. Basically, make sure that you are only on one device or the other at any given time. The problem tends to arise when you're actually on both devices at once, or that Apple thinks you're on both devices at once. So if you close out of that project, but then completely close out of GarageBand, give it a few minutes, make sure it's completely updated to iCloud, then when you go back into that project on the other device, it should be completely out of it, and it should not say, we found a conflict. Here you go. We fixed it for you. Here's the latest version. And then you've got 17 versions of the same project. So I don't know if that's other people's opinion, but there you go. And Frixie, there you go. Yeah, check out the Facebook group. Back to work in the morning, so got to shoot off now. Catch you all. No problems. Enjoy work. Right, I know it is late for those folks in the US and Canada now, but it's just starting the day for me. The joys of time zones. All right, last question, I think. I thought that deleted, but it didn't. Oh, yep, there it did. Didn't delete that one. So this final question, and then I think we're done for the day and the weekend, and I'll let you all get back to your lives, right? So question here from Kyle. Kyle says, hi Pete, have you ever tried open back headphones? I just got a pair and they're amazing. I haven't for a really long time, to be honest. So because I use these, I use the I use the Sennheiser HD 280 Pros, and they're my everything. So I use them for broadcasting like this. I use them for tracking, so recording my songs, and I use them for playback, listening, mixing, mastering. I use them for everything. I have been tempted. Apparently the Sennheiser HD 650s are open back headphones, and apparently they sound amazing. So if you don't know the difference, open back headphones means that they don't close around your ears. They actually have some ventilation. They have some stuff coming in. You can actually hear the sound coming out, which means that if you're recording, say, on a microphone, it's not going to be great because it's going to record some of that sound. However, they are better for more detailed listening when it comes to mixing or mastering. That is what I've heard anyway. I haven't used them in a really long time. I tried some really early on when I was first buying headphones, and then I thought, I can't really justify it because the HD 650s is something like $400. Let's have a quick look, see, shall we? while we're searching for gear, HD 650. Hold your breath. Yeah, okay. $4.99 US $. So yeah, that equates to around about 800 Australian dollars, which is a fair amount of carrots, right? That's a lot of carrots. But yeah, you can see there the difference there, that the backing there, instead of it going, they sit on your ears, and the backing actually is open, hence the name open back headphones. But they got cool things like, yeah, you can see there you've got your detachable cables that you can plug in there, and they are apparently super comfortable. Like I said, I don't think I've ever even heard HD 650s. Maybe I need to go into my... Can you do that anymore? That's a really good question. Can you try on headphones anymore, or has that ship sailed? Is there no more trying on of headphones because we're all going to like get our ear juices being swapped around and infect each other? All right, there you go. All right, thanks, folks. It's been real. I just used the word ear juices. And now you can't unhear ear juices. So there you go. Alrighty. Yeah, ouchies indeed. Ouchies for both the ear juices and the $4.99 price tag. So yeah, maybe I need to find myself some cheap ones. There you go. Kyle said he's got the HD 58X. They're very neutral and half the price. Let's see what they retail for. HD 58X. They come in. Oh, it didn't. They're not on Sweetwater. Okay. Anyway, 58X. So let's just search that again. But yeah, if they're about half the price, that's good. No, it doesn't look like Sweetwater sell them. But there you go. Alrighty. But do they make breakfast in the morning? Yeah, right. Yeah, ear juices. All right. On that note. On that disturbing note, I want to thank you all for a cool weekend. We've had some trials, some tribulations, but we've had some fun along the way, and it's always good. I'm glad now that we've got the questions cleared up from yesterday. I don't have to carry any over into next week's show, and I've given folks an opportunity to ask questions, and I always learn something here new too. I learned that I'm probably not buying any HD 650s anytime soon. Alrighty. There you go. Deep Gravity says I use semi-open back for mixing and the Sennheiser HD200 for recording. There you go. Yes, there we go. Gets my ear juices flowing. There you go. That could be my new t-shirt. Studio Live today gets my ear juices flowing. That is going to do it for this one. Please, folks, be kind to yourselves. Be kind to other folks. Enjoy the week you have ahead, and I'll catch you around the channel real soon for more fun and ear juices here on Studio